So yay, the war is over. Well, not really. Turns out saving the world doesn't come with a vacation. Instead, Farah and Rhysand are knee-deep in paperwork, refugee aid, and political meetings. Their beautiful city, Velaris, may be standing, but everyone inside it is either traumatized, broke, or pretending they're fine while stress-eating Solstice cookies. Feyre, now High Lady of the Night Court, yes, High Lady, put some respect on her name, is barely holding it together. She spends her days helping rebuild the city, dodging feelings, and telling herself she'll totally get back to painting soon. Spoiler, she will, but not yet. Meanwhile, Rhys, High Lord, Dreamboat, and current king of the Brooding Stare, is working overtime trying to keep the Fey world from collapsing into another war. He's also dealing with drama in the Illyrian camps. Remember those winged warrior dudes? Yeah, they're still not thrilled about training women. Cassian, Rhys's general and adopted brother, is ready to throw hands about it. Again. Cassian, for the record, is dealing with his own emotional stuff. One minute he's throwing punches in camp. The next he's flying to the ruins of the mountain where he was born, thinking deep thoughts and brooding in the snow like a muscle-bound Batman. His backstory? Brutal. His mom was cast out for having him. He burned down the camp as a teen. Classic Cassian move, rage first, reflect later. And all of this is building up to the Winter Solstice, a major holiday in Velaris that everyone pretends to be excited about, even though none of them are emotionally stable enough to handle festive sweaters and gift exchanges. So peace has come, but emotional baggage definitely didn't get the memo. Feyre's life lately is one big internal monologue about how she should feel. Grateful, happy, healed, but mostly she feels like a deflated balloon pretending to be a queen. She tries to stay busy. Helping others? Check. Writing letters? Check. Emotionally spiraling in silence? Double check. One day, while wandering around Velaris, probably avoiding responsibilities, she stumbles into the artist's quarter. The place is still scarred from Hybern's attack, but there's something familiar and safe about it. There, she meets Rhysand, a friendly fae who doesn't bow, flirt, or ask about the war. Instead, Rhysand just invites her to come paint with a group of artists. Farah's like, thanks but no thanks, because apparently she has to carry the emotional burden of the entire continent before picking up a paintbrush. Still, the moment sticks with her. Then comes the annual Nightmare Trip, a visit to the Court of Nightmares, the public face of the Night Court, where everyone wears black and pretends they're not deeply broken inside. Morrigan, Rhys's cousin, is leading the charge. She wants to confront her abusive father, Kier, and her ex-fiancé, Eris. Fun. Well, not really. The second Mor lays eyes on Eris, she mentally time travels to the moment her family literally nailed her to the floor for sleeping with someone to escape that marriage. Yeah, it's dark. Farah and Rhys handle the meeting, and Eris is like, by the way, Tamlin's border is the only thing keeping certain fae from running wild over human lands. Helpful? Maybe. Also incredibly awkward? Absolutely. After the trip, Farah finally gives in to her instincts and sneaks off to the abandoned studio Rhysand mentioned. No people, no pressure, just a bunch of dusty canvases and a paintbrush. She paints her Ouroboros self the terrifying vision she saw in a mirror that shows your truest self. It's monstrous, honest, cathartic, and kind of terrifying. She leaves it there to dry and maybe haunt the building a little. Anyway, remember Tamlin? Spring Court hottie turned controlling ex? Yeah, him. Rhys decides to pay him a little friendly visit. Rhys shows up at the Spring Court expecting political tension and finds a ghost town. The estate's trashed, the staff is gone, and the only thing still functioning is Tamlin's grudge. The guy's basically sulking in an empty house with no friends, no allies, and no sense of interior design. Rhys offers a peacekeeping suggestion. Let Night Court soldiers patrol the human border that runs through Spring territory. Tamlin says, nah, he's got no guards, no staff, and no plans. But also, don't help him. Makes sense. Tensions rise, insults are thrown. Rhys pokes the bear a little too hard, and Tamlin, broken, bitter, and one emotional nudge away from a total collapse, snaps. Rhys doesn't fight back. Not really. He sees Tamlin for what he is, a sad, crumbling shell of a guy who made too many bad choices and has nothing left. Rhys winnows back home, feeling like crap. He's not proud of how it went down. He tells Farah he honestly wanted to kill Tamlin for all the hurt he caused, but also didn't, because healing or whatever. Farah listens, supports him, and they have one of those it's okay to not be okay moments. So mature of them, right? Then Rhys decides to do what any emotionally overwhelmed man in need of a distraction would do. He goes shopping. Yep, he hits the jewelry store like a fey Santa Claus looking for gifts. Nothing screams, let's not think about our trauma, like overpriced accessories. He finds perfect pieces for Amren because terrifying murder aunt deserves something shiny, and tries to keep himself from spiraling into more guilt and rage. All right, let's talk sisterhood, because nothing says festive like emotional damage and complicated family dynamics. Farah and Elaine hit the market to buy Winter Solstice gifts. Elaine is all about thoughtful presents and cinnamon buns. Farah is mostly trying to act cheerful while wondering if she can expense everything to the Night Court treasury. While shopping, they stumble into a weaver's shop. The woman shows them a strange, iridescent black fabric she created while grieving her husband. She calls it Void. The whole shop is basically Sad Girl Autumn Fae edition. Farah, being the most emotionally repressed artist in history, buys it immediately and gets inspired to paint more. Healing through textiles, apparently. Later, Farah returns to the studio, alone. She paints for hours, nothing fancy, just raw emotions turned into color. Rhysand walks in like, whoa, did I interrupt a breakdown or a masterpiece? Farah pretends it's totally casual, like, oh hey, yeah, just sketching my shattered soul. No biggie. Rhysand offers to clean the place up and suggests again that Farah buy it. Farah says she'll think about it, which is high fae for I'm scared but intrigued. Meanwhile, let's check in on the other sister, Nesta. She's deep into her rebellion arc, bars, gambling, one-night stands, and a whole don't talk to me unless you're tequila vibe. She's pushing everyone away, especially Elaine and Farah. Farah finally corners her in a tavern where Nesta is hanging out with wealthy fae men and zero shame. Farah tries to be gentle at first, but Nesta isn't having it. Then Farah does what any responsible sibling would do. She bribes her. Literally says, come to Solstice dinner or no rent money. Nesta glares. Farah walks away. Emotional growth? Kind of. Back home, Farah visits Amren, hoping to get some secret intel on Nesta. Amren, who is both terrifying and surprisingly loyal, is like, nope, not my story to tell. Translation, Nesta shows up sometime, she's hurting, and it's not your job to fix her. Also, Lucien shows up around this time. His reunion with Elaine is quiet, painfully quiet. You know, the whole mated but avoiding each other situation. The man gets emotionally bodied by her polite silence. Then he and Farah argue. He feels rejected by everyone, bitter about Tamlin, and very into brooding exile life. So to simplify it, one sister's baking cookies, one's setting emotional fires, and Farah, she's stuck being the referee with a paintbrush. So it's Solstice Eve, which means one thing. Dinner with a bunch of emotionally unstable fae who all pretend everything's normal. The inner circle gathers at Feyre and Rhysand's house. Cassian and Azriel are there, probably trying not to fight over the last piece of bread. Elaine is baking something aggressively wholesome. Amren is just Amren, equal parts terrifying and elegant. And Moore walks in like she owns the place, because let's be honest, she kind of does. Everyone's doing their best to be festive. Farah, of course, is quietly panicking about whether Nesta will show up. Elaine's already sad about it. Cassian keeps asking if she's coming. No one wants to say out loud that Nesta is likely out somewhere drinking with strangers and pretending her last name is not Archeron. Meanwhile, Feyre and Rhys share a rare moment of peace. They reflect on how weird it is to even have traditions, again, after all the war and trauma. Feyre is still not sure if she's allowed to enjoy nice things, and Rhys is trying not to schedule a diplomatic meeting during dessert. Later, Rhys invites Moore on a walk. Not romantic, just business and emotional unpacking. See, Rhys is still feeling guilty about letting Moore's awful dad visit Velaris in exchange for troops during the war. But Moore, being the tough, emotionally scarred queen she is, tells him she gets it. Doesn't mean she likes it, but she gets it. Rhys, being very on brand, asks Moore to be his ambassador between the courts. Travel, diplomacy, some light trauma healing. Moore considers it. Because apparently nothing says healing, like fleeing your city to deal with other people's problems. So, solstice morning hits, and surprise, it's also Feyre's birthday. She hoped everyone would forget. They did not. Rhys wakes her up with presents, because of course he did. He gives her a sketchbook and new paint supplies, which is actually kind of perfect. Farah acts chill about it, but you can tell she's melting a little inside. Not from magic, from feelings. After breakfast, Cassian and Azriel burst in like two overgrown Fey puppies and kidnap Rhys for their annual snowball fight in the mountains. Yes, you hear that right. These literal weapons of war have a yearly snowball fight tradition. Azriel goes full stealth assassin with it. Cassian cheats. Rhys pretends he doesn't care, but he absolutely does. While they're out pelting each other with snow, Farah stays behind and does the most romantic thing a high lady can do. She checks the household budget. Turns out running a city isn't cheap. She debates whether she can afford the abandoned studio, even though it's for healing children. Not brunch vibes. Real responsible queen behavior. And then, ding dong, the doorbell rings. Farah and Elaine rush to answer it, both clearly hoping it's Nesta. It's not. It's Lucien. He's not exactly welcome, but he's trying. Elaine promptly vanishes, leaving Feyre and Lucien to awkwardly tiptoe through a conversation that's 20% polite words, 80% buried resentment. Lucien admits he feels exiled from Tamlin, from Elaine, from basically every chapter of his past life. He talks about the only people who don't make him feel like garbage, Jurian and Vassa. They call themselves the Band of Exiles, which sounds like either a trauma support group or an epic Dungeons and Dragons party. Farah pushes back, they argue, and Lucien leaves, not storming out, but heavy with the weight of everything unsaid. Later, the Winter Solstice party kicks off that evening, and the whole gang's there. Feyre, Rhys, Elaine, Cassian, Amren, Azriel, Moore. Everyone except the person Feyre has been thinking about for days, Nesta. Feyre tries to play it cool. Cassian does not. He keeps looking toward the door, like an anxious golden retriever who heard thunder. Then, finally, she arrives. Nesta walks in like she was dragged there by force and pure spite. She's dressed nice, but her expression says, I'd rather be anywhere else. There's a pause, a breath, everyone trying not to act surprised, and then she says, almost nothing, eats barely anything, and makes exactly zero effort to join the fun. Elaine tries to engage. Farah watches closely. Cassian practically glows when she walks in, and Nesta pretends he's part of the wallpaper. Eventually, she gets up and leaves. Cassian follows, but at a distance. Not chasing, not cornering, just making sure she gets home safe. Nesta doesn't thank him, doesn't even acknowledge him, but she knows he's there. And for now, that's enough. With the solstice chaos behind them, Farah does something wild. She finally chooses herself. She returns to the abandoned studio, the one Rhysand showed her way back when. The family that used to own it insists she take it for free and donate the money instead. Feyre, floored by their generosity, agrees. She asks Rhysand to become her business partner, and together, they decide to open a community art space. Not just for decoration, this studio will offer classes for children, especially those still haunted by war. Farah, who once saw art as a selfish luxury, now sees it as a way to heal. For everyone, not just herself. Later, back home, she tells Rhys everything. He doesn't just support her. He lights up like a man who's watching her breathe for the first time in months. And then comes his gift. Rhys bought one of the estates that was destroyed in the war, not as a palace, not for politics, but to rebuild as a home for all of them, a safe place, a future. And Farah's solstice gift to him, she's ready to have a family. They once agreed to wait, but now, after all they've lost and all they've rebuilt, she wants to begin.